Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Random Crafty Axe. I'm Barb. This is, you'll probably find this one under, I don't know what playlist. It has to do, it's not really mass making, except I kind of feel like I'm mass making because I have a lot I'm doing. Let me double check and make sure I'm in frame since I've moved some of my stuff around. I'm in the process of trying to get a box ready for Operation Gratitude. I have 100 cards, and I need 200. In a previous video, I bought a packet of these cut aparts. They're pretty heavy. They were quite odd, I felt like. I mean, felt like I got a really good deal on them. But all of these things that you see here, including the ones I've already used, like these, some of them were quite large. They were all in the same packet. So, mushrooms with books, okay, frames, which normally I would find some kind of a flower to cut out and put on the inside of this, which I probably will. 2 little plates, no clue. This is kind of like sewing stuff. These are all gardeny things and they're small bits. Again, these are pretty good size. These are tags, or larger tag size, which I've got some ideas on what I could do with those. These are probably some of the more challenging in some regards because of their size, as far as what I actually want to put them on. So I've got 3 cards partially set up. I'm going to let you watch me make those. And let me grab one more tool that I forgot to get. And we'll kind of see how they come out, okay? I may have to pause the video from time to time, but you can hear the air conditioning running in the background. This is being filmed in June, and it is feels like 100 degrees outside. I'm serious. We're under some kind of a heat dome, and my husband is out working, and I really don't know how he does that. So far, okay, so back to the set. The only thing I can't figure out what I'm going to do with it are these little deer, male deer, in pink. These have the same pink in the background. I don't really have that. Well, I've got that pink in these stamps, but see, these are things that seem pretty disconnected. So the first thing I did when I got to this part of it, because the other pieces were big, so they just like fit right down in the middle of a card. Let's see if I've got one over here. Yeah, here's one. Okay, so this was like big. Okay, so I could put that on and stick a hello on there. These were a little more challenging. Just a note to say hello. This giant teapot. Part of what I did was I looked at color and looked to see what I had that I could put in the background. Then I also looked at design. Like, the bigger the piece, the more it would be just like the center of what it was. Some of them I didn't need any kind of sentiment on it. So once I did that, that was one day. I kind of came down to looking at like some sizes, and I have what we're going to work with are these ones that are like 1 3/4 by 2 3/4 that will fit on a 2 by 3 color square. And that's pretty easy to put into place on a very simple card. So I'm going to set this aside and grab one of my dollar store mats, Dollar Tree mats, and I'm going to start with one of the cards that I finished. And then we'll just kind of work through this. So I'll show you a couple of the things that I did. All right, so this is one of the cards that I finished. This is a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 thin matte background. This is a 4 by 5 1/4. These are the, what did I just say? You know me and math, man. I just don't, it doesn't stick. These are the 2 and, I think these were 1 3/4 by 2 3/4. And so then I cut 2 by 3s and put behind them. And then we're going to do something with the die cutting here, and I'll show you a couple of tips that works really well when you're doing this. So I have everything pretty much cut out except for the die cutting, so I'm going to do that for you. Okay, we'll do this card first. Everything in that packet came in 2s, which was kind of nice. All right, so this is going to go on here, but we're going to do something first. And let me get, yeah, I want that to be round. Okay, notice that since I am putting this on top of this, and I want to cut out the letters here, and I don't want to use a whole piece of this, I can actually cut this out of the middle of this, okay, because the hole is going to get covered with that. And that's a really good tip to use when you're doing die cutting. So I get my Big Shot Fold Away out. And I'm going to lay this on here. Okay, and make sure I've got all my color options. And this is on a standard platform with the adapter plate and a magic mat, and then the acrylic top. And these, I have to crank these multiple times. These dies, I really like them. They are, however, they can be troublesome. And I'll show you why when we start taking this apart. Okay, so that, I'm going to set that up here, and we'll set that just on top of it. Okay, so now we take this apart. So the outside piece comes off, and then there are tools you can buy. I use a straight pin, and you poke through the little holes to kind of help remove this from the die. You can get this double-sided sticky stuff that you actually put on the back and cut, and it supposedly makes this easier. Okay, this piece come off. Now, I have triple layered stuff before, and so if this comes off of here without tearing, you could cut this again in a different color and put it down inside there, but we're not going to do that. I have done that. Okay. Now that piece comes out of there. Then we look to see, okay, inside the K, we have to pick that out. Okay. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. That we want this to come off here, but see, you have to be careful or your paper will separate. So hopefully this will work. And if I did more of this, you can check online. There are some other things you can get that will make this, that makes this a little easier. But again, I don't do this often because this is the kind of thing that I would find some way to cut this out on my silhouette. But on the silhouette, I can't get this tight, just the letters sort of thing. Okay, all right, so we have that. I'm going to poke the hole out of the K. You have to kind of watch because you get little, that letter kind of picked, but that's not really going to show. Okay, so then the next thing we want to do is cut. We want the shadow, so we're going to cut that out of the center of here. Okay, because this is going to go on top, so you won't see that the hole is there. Again, like I said, this is a way to save, and I'm not going to drag that over since you know what I'm doing. And these cut a little bit easier. It has to do with not just the die, but it also has to do with the paper you're working with as to how easy it is to cut. Okay, we're going to set that here. I'm going to pop this here. All right. Now we're going to use our, as soon as I find them. Oh, there they are. I would say if it was a snake, it would have bit me, but we had a snake out in the yard, and I don't want to think about it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this on top of here. And I'm going to check and make sure I'm in frame here. The other day I was doing one of these and I stood up and I'd been talking to you for 15 minutes and the video wasn't running. I don't know what I touched wrong. Okay. And I try to get not too much glue, but enough, because it's really hard to, like, if this goes down wrong, you're pretty much done. Okay, so lining the T up is pretty easy. The K and the Y, and we're just kind of centering. Wow, that did nice. Okay. All right. All right, now this is the other thing. Normally I have a little dish thing out to hang on to my dies with. Okay, these are heavy. These are a lot heavier than the cardstock I use. I've been very liberal with my glue. Now notice I really don't need the glue in the center for this part. Okay, and I want to center this. And then that little thing there sticks over the side, so it looks like tape, so that's kind of nice. Okay, now I want to put this on top of here. These, this, I don't even know where I got this paper. That was during my hobby is buying craft supply stage, and I dug down into that to work on these. Okay, and I'm going to build the front before I put it on the card base. That's an A2 card. Put this in the corner. A2 cards, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, one piece of 8 1/2 by 11, 110 pound cards, index card stock. Put this down in the corner. Okay, we can throw that out. This is messy. I'm gonna grab another one of those. A key one. I just made a card that I pressed it down on that and had to use my, I don't even know what it's an eraser that reminds me, it's for ink, it's a sand eraser. It reminds me of the old, back in the day when we had to use a typewriter eraser that had that rough edge that you were basically rubbing the ink off of the paper. It reminds me of those. Okay, Now, this is pretty small. If it was a great big hole and you felt concerned about that, you could just take any piece of scrap paper and shove it down in there so that it would make the edge here look a lot more even. And my card is just a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna straighten that out here with my bone folder. Okay, look at that. That's really nice. And I want to top this off by using the stamp that my granddaughter had designed for me. I've been working with it and it's doing a lot better. Okay. All right, that's 2. 102. Okay. This next one is a missing you, which is one of the sentiments that we use for Operation Gratitude. This one is very simple. This is just the 4 by 5 1/4 pattern paper. I dug around through my 12 by 12s and found a big piece that was just begging to be cut up. That was the other thing with that set, was trying to like match colors with something that I already had. This is that same green, which again came out of the same packet that I was cutting with. This one I think was 1 7/8 by 2 7/8, but I still used the 2 by 3 background on it and made a missing you. Okay, and I had cut out of that. And then these are part of the sentiments. Now this is, you notice this is a piece of double-sided paper, so when I bought this set, a big 12 by 12 paper, I realized that I was actually buying paper that I could do various things with. Now I looked at putting a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 mat behind that and decided against it. I don't really have a good reason for that, so I don't know why. I just did. Okay, and then I'm pretty much centering this. Again, you could use a grid if I do enough of this that I can pretty much eyeball it. And then I'm going to put the missing you sentiment down here. Pop this open. I didn't stamp the back of that one, so we'll stamp this too. I use archival ink on the back of this, and this is one of the few ink pads that I bought a bottle of re-inking ink because I use it so frequently. She pointed out to me that she bought this kind of stamp instead of the self-inking ones, so I could use different colors. And I have to say, for whatever reason, it has never occurred to me to do that until recently. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Okay, and it says Random Acts of Kindness Studio. Okay, so that's 4. All right, I'm going to set that aside. I am extremely fortunate to have a large space that I am able to craft in. Okay, this one, I just came up with the idea and I hadn't had a chance to do anything with it, so we're going to make this one more. We're going to stamp, okay? And I've got the 2 cards. I'm going to do 2 backgrounds of, and I'm going to just turn around and do 2 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Well, I'll be nice. I'll bring this over so you don't get bored. Okay, so this is 6 by 6, so 5 3/8. I like this little small guillotine one because I get really sharp edges. secondly, don't take this off. I think I've said that in a previous video. I tried to do that and I just really almost cut myself. So that's 5 3/8 there, and now 4 1/8. And notice with this I can cut both sheets at the same time. You should always check your equipment to make sure it will do that. And then this goes over in my growing scrap box, which I don't know what we're going to do about, but we're going to have to do something here pretty shortly because it's getting pretty thick. Okay, so, and this table cover is not the nice Teflon ones like I've seen. This is just that brown packing paper that comes in the Amazon boxes. And when it gets too grody, I take it off the table and throw it away. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and do this. And yes, it would be very easy to just flip this over and use this side of the paper, but I'm not going to do that this time. This is one of those things that I have a whole lot of. Okay. Those will go on the front of those cards. So let's go ahead and glue these on. All right, this stamp, we're going to use my stamping platform. I want the stamp to go right here. So I want this to go right here. Like I said, this was a really odd set. It had, because, you know, all of those things were in the same pack. You know, mushrooms and books and... Okay, and we're going to leave the other one off because we want to try this and make sure this works. We want that to sit right there. Let me get the small black ink pad. Well, I'm going to pause you while I... Wait, there it is. Okay. I've been doing a lot of crafting, so things are... Okay, so you ink this. And the advantage of using a stamping platform is if this doesn't ink quite as deeply as I would like it to, it's in the... Yep, see, I'd like it to be just a little bit darker. Do it again. You can use an acrylic block. I've watched some people do that and they're really good at it, and I'm not. Okay. It's going to be really pretty on there. We can just put that out in the middle. Okay. So let's try this one since it's the same size card. So it comes out in the same spot, and then we'll put the embellishment on after we do this. And if you were, like if I was making 6 of these, you know, that's the other advantage, is that I could just like keep shoving them in there. I think that's good enough. Okay, I'm going to set this aside because I have to clean that. I can put this down in the corner. Notice the difference in the shades. This paper I bought was double-sided, so that it had this green on one side and the bright green on the other. I kept trying to figure out something that I could put behind that, but I looked at some of my nested dies that I could have like cut that out a little differently so that it would have a little more design around the edge. But I mean, I think it looks fine the way it is, but that is another option, would be to use a nested die that would have cut the square out and would have put a pattern around there, little X's or kind of a notched edge, different edgings. That would have been nice. Okay. You'll see here as I fight this into place why I am using liquid glue. Because if I was using this, we'd have been done. As in, it wouldn't have done what I wanted it to do. Okay. Put this down. This down. Some people who send their cards out put their email addresses, and I know some people who actually put their regular mailing addresses. I don't do that. It's not that I don't want someone to thank me for doing this. It's that and some people do. They want to be able to thank whoever did this for them. And I can understand that, but I just don't. Okay, so those are those two. Right, so that makes 6. I've got some envelopes here, so I'll show you my intense method that I do next. So that one goes in here. This one goes in here. Here, this one goes here. This one goes here. This is the box that the envelopes come in. I use these to load up the cards to mail them back or mail them to California to Operation Gratitude because they're real sturdy. Okay, so there's 6. I put that in here. Then that says 100. I add the 6 because when I submit that to them that I am sending a box with cards and get my labels and everything, I have to tell them how many cards are in the box. All right, so this is just wedged in there. And there, usually I can get 200 in here. I buy 500 envelopes at a time, but I can usually get 200 cards here. All right. Okay, if you've not yet subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it if you would click on the name of the channel down there, Random Crafty Axe, and click the subscribe button. All the information about Operation Gratitude is in the description below. By subscribing to my channel, it helps me with the algorithm that drives all things over here on YouTube, so that more people will find out about Operation Gratitude as a place to donate their cards. If you have any questions, please leave those below. I'll be happy to come back and try to answer them. And I hope you have an incredible day. Thank you for being with me.